morning. It's Tuesday, August 16th, and today I'm going to talk about a group of people who will remain nameless in this grant of mine because you all know who I'm going to be talking about as soon as I tell you the story. After many months of trying to get permission to enter this famous residence and search for documents that they were continually told didn't exist, the FBI executed a search of a very famous residence in this country. And the occupant of that residence declared that it was a raid when it was a perfectly honest search, looking for documents that the biggest liar, his attorney, claimed in fact wrote a letter back in June that said there were no documents at this famous residence. But that turned out to be a lie, which is not unusual for this group of people. Now, the big liar goes on his social network, which he has named Truth Social, which is a big joke, and declares that he had declassified the documents that didn't exist in his premises. According to his lawyer's letter, he declassified the documents. And in the middle of this, the big liar also tweeted that all they had to do was ask, and he would have let them go in. They didn't need a search warrant. Now, I would think if documents are declassified, there's got to be some procedure. You can't just take a document that people know existed and declassify it without notifying the appropriate authorities. Because how are the National Archives and the people that are responsible for managing these documents after the big liar is gone out of office, shouldn't they be notified in some way, shape, or form that these documents have been declassified? So maybe there wouldn't be such a big turmoil going on now? Do we take the word of the big liar that he declassified the documents? I think any reasonable person would say no. And then we have the defenders of the big liar who want to see the affidavit. They want to see the particulars of the affidavit that was given to the FBI to allow them to search. Now, we know that there were Secret Service men still at the residence of the big liar, and they accepted the affidavit document and allowed the FBI to search the residence. And the FBI had to break into the safe at the residence to retrieve some of the documents. And of course, the big liar complained about them breaking into his safe. Now, none of this would have happened had the big liar not taken those documents with him when he left his previous residence, since he wasn't supposed to take those documents away from his previous residence. But now, here's where the story gets really ugly. The big liar was upset that the FBI did not want his lawyers trailing them around while they searched the premises. That is really not allowed, so to speak. But I believe some of those lawyers were there when they did search the premises. And on top of that, the big liar intimated in his tweet that someone might have been planting evidence. Planting anyone, it said? The associates, the ass-kissers of the big liar, are now claiming that the FBI possibly removed some documents or placed some different documents in the gathering of the materials that were found at his residence. Can you imagine that? We have people who have leading roles in this country, and they are prepared to tell big lies, maybe bigger lies than the biggest liar of them all. Some of these big lying associates said, "We know they plant evidence. We know they hide evidence." And the other guy standing next to him is shaking his head, yes, we know they do this and they do that. They are implying that the FBI fixes cases. We've never said anything. We've never heard anything about that. The FBI doctors documents. We have leading elected officials in this country stating things like that on TV. And of course, we know that the minions of the big liar are sucking this stuff up and believing it. It's a fucking disgrace. And then another guy says, how do we know? How do we know that the FBI was honest? How do we know that we didn't put stuff in there? How do we know they didn't doctor these things? Because his lawyers weren't allowed to follow them around. Well, it's not procedure to have anybody following anybody around when the FBI is searching. That is not done. Why should they make exceptions for the big liar? And why does he have his minions out there repeating such horrible stories that the FBI was planting and doctoring evidence? And the worst part of it is these guys are getting on national TV. They're on podcasts. They're all over the place. And we have the sick part of this population sucking that stuff up and prepared to go out and demonstrate and maybe even murder people over this episode. So think about this. Were they planted or were they declassified? Who knows at this point? So here's what I believe. The big liar and his big lying associates are just throwing crap against the wall and hoping that some of it sticks. And I believe a lot of it will stick in the minds of those who are believers and followers of the big liar. And it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace that we have this shit being thrown against the wall and that some people are going to believe it. I do not believe one scintilla of this crap. So I leave you with that this morning, and I hope you understand why I could not mention the names of these evil. Have a great day. Bye.